Do you want to achieve perfect cycling form on the bike?
Today we're going to break down exactly why Pogačar looks so effortless on the bike. Yes, sure, some of it is genetics, but a lot of it we can deconstruct and we can build it into our own training, and that's our goal for today.
Anthony, let's crack straight into the questions. I've been told my upper body moves too much when I ride. How do I develop that still and efficient pro look without feeling like I'm stiff as a board?
When we talk about the professional look, there is no more professional a look than Tadej Pogacar. So I had a little bit of time on my hands and I researched to try and figure out and deconstruct exactly what makes Pogačar. We're not talking about his physiology. We're talking about aesthetically how he positions on the bike, because we can copy that when we can't copy the Pogačar physiology, unfortunately. Body position and aerodynamics is the first way I've decided to look at it. Pogačar is quite aero, but still a relaxed posture. Like his back is flat, but it's not excessively hunched. This means he's aerodynamically efficient without compromising power output, because the more aerodynamic you get, you close off that hip flexor angle and you can start to compromise your power. So he's found a real happy medium. That will have been playing around the wind tunnel. But I recorded a time trial course with David Miller a good few years ago now, probably 7-8 years ago. And one of the lessons I remember from it was David Miller saying all his years in the wind tunnel that if you're to go outside the wind tunnel and look at somebody, and if they look fast, they normally are fast when you analyse them. So you can start to tweak your own position and aim for that kind of Pogačar aero position, like take the picture of him and try and mimic it yourself. And if it looks aero, the chances are if you're going tested it would be aero. His elbow bend and shoulder relaxation is another one. He keeps his elbow slightly bent. This is absorbing all the road vibrations, and it's allowing for small micro adjustments for him to balance, like with wind, corner, in the bunch. Like his shoulders aren't overly tense. That means he's preventing wasted energy. You see, especially newbies, and everything's locked out and they feel and look kind of rattly. His hip angles open to generate power without restricting his breathing and closing off his diaphragm. Then we move into pedal stroke. If you're to look at his pedal stroke, he definitely doesn't mash on the pedals. He's not a masher. He's quite a rounded pedal stroke guy, which means we have even power distribution. He's not neglecting that upstroke. So his form, it's maximizing power through the 360 degrees, bringing in quads, hamstrings and calves into every pedal stroke. His cadence is in that 85 to 100 range, which just looks way more fluid than some of the harder pedalers. Like, without picking on Mads Pedersen, I always think he just feels like he's quite a stompy pedal stroke. And then looking at footage of Pogačar, so much of it is footage on YouTube of him climbing, attacking when he's climbing, and he strikes a good balance between seated and standing when he's climbing. He switches between the two of them almost effortlessly. He uses that standing attack strategically to get a gap without being, he knows there's an aerodynamic penalty for it. So as soon as he establishes a gap, he's typically back into a more aerodynamic position without too much wasted energy. His breathing is interesting as well. He rarely lets himself go, hyperventilating. It always seems quite, and you need to slow this down and watch it on 0.5 speed to nearly appreciate it. It always looks quite slow, nasal breathing, deep, controlled, rhythmic, no wild upper body movements either, which means he's rarely in oxygen debt. One of the key things that Pogačar has that a lot of us as amateurs don't have, it's well-rounded adaptation to what we're doing through strength and conditioning. I'd imagine he's doing a lot of off the bike core strength and conditioning, stuff like that. Like his body is lean but muscular in those key areas like glutes, quads, core, giving him that steadiness and that sustainability to keep that steadiness far into the race. And yeah, that's kind of my analysis of Pogačar. It took me 60 seconds to get out, but that took me hours to figure out. I'm watching footage of Pogačar. And look, maybe I missed loads of stuff there. So let me know in the comments what I missed there, because look, your analysis of Pogačar is equally as valid as mine.
I think as well, look, this listener has basically been told that his upper body moves too much. And that's really cool that you have somebody to say that to you, right? Because it's very difficult when you're on the bike. When I'm on the bike, and I know plenty of people are like this, I kind of feel like I look okay, or I'm dialed in, or I'm in the right position.
Shop window.
You got to look in the shop window. We all do that. But it is good to have somebody to help you, right? To look at your form, or to maybe set up your camera and cycle past it a few times and see, do you look good? And this is literally just like, watch the good lads and see what they're doing. Now, it's kind of hard to unpick. You've done a good job, because I would look at Pogačar and I'd be like, that looks so cool. The other person that I love watching on the bike is Mathieu van der Poel. Don't know how many bikes he sold for his sponsor, because he just makes it look so effortless, so cool. But it is hard as a newbie to look at Pogačar, Van der Poel, and be like, oh, that's what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Or this is the position, or that's why it looks so smooth. So that's really cool that you pointed out.
Well, I never
all
heard
those
an
little
analysis of it. It's hard to even know where to begin to ground that conversation. And that was nearly my goal with this, is to like start a dialogue around it. Obviously, bike fit, however, no default to that answer, but it's quite a lazy answer, because it doesn't take in everything that we talked about there. Also, I think anecdotally, since we launched our strength and conditioning plan, plug for that because the link is down below. Since we launched our strength and conditioning plan for cyclists, I've had first-hand experience seeing the transformation people have made in their stability over like 6 to 12 week period. And aesthetically, they look very, very different on the bike with some S&C work. And that's why I think that kind of muscular in key areas is very important.
Okay, yes, we will see Pogačar and those other riders at the end of a race sometimes, if they're, really suffering, that the form does go. You can see a little bit of a sway in the shoulders or the hips.
Give him a break.
But it's very rarely. I think he looks as amazing on the bike usually at the end of the race as he does at the beginning. And that's just, again, his, as you said, strength and conditioning, that endurance, that big engine that he's built up. But it also, I will say, it's going to be very difficult to look like Pogačar on the bike. He looks like the bike is kind of an extension of his body. You can kind of see that with certain riders. They just look really cool on the bike. He's been riding his bike since he was very young. Is Pogačar in this since he was a kiddo?
I don't know what age he started, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely something to kind of consider, but yeah, something very difficult, I think, to achieve. Okay, next question. Anthony, Milan San Remo is coming up at the weekend. The real start to the season. I can't wait. What was your favourite ever Milan San Remo victory?
I loved 2008. Milan San Remo, first off, what a race. It really is the start of the Spring Classics, La Primavera, the start of the Spring Classics season. And it just builds to this perfect crescendo over the Cipresso into the Poggio. And, you only really need to tune in for the last 30 kilometers and you get all the drama, which is brilliant. 2008, Fabian Cancellara was brilliant. They came over in a small group over the Poggio and Cancellara just hit them, and it was a vintage Cancellara win. That's like my best memory of watching Milan San Remo, but like watching footage as an Irish person, I'm kind of romantic about 1992. Sean Kelly's famous descent at a Poggio. So we had Moreno Argentine, who was the world champion at the time, top classic specialist. He attacked as expected on the Poggio, but Kelly put in this Matej Mohoric-esque daredevil descent on the Poggio, one of the greatest descents of all time, to catch Argentine and to win Milan San Remo and top off just an amazing Palmares for Kelly. Yeah,
because the Poggio is really all about, even though it's about 280 kilometres,
it's 300k race.
300k. So the Milan San Remo is all about the last kind of 15, 20, 30 kilometres, isn't it?
That Poggio builds up slowly.
It's
like boiling a lobster in cold water and just bringing them slowly to the boil, because it just gets gradually harder and harder and harder. And you're taking these climbs like Cipressa and Poggio with a lot of fatigue in your legs from a long day in the saddle.
Because I don't think the Poggio itself it's not like those epic Alpe d'Huez or anything like that.
It's a big ring climb.
It's a big ring climb, exactly, but absolutely wearing. But yeah, I did see a lot of articles this week just talking about the descent, and you kind of summed it up there, talking about Sean Kelly's kamikaze trip down the far end of it that day to get a win. I can't wait.
Well, Morris used to drop our post on this a few years ago.
Oh yeah, that's
when
right.
When he killed himself.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't watch that footage. I literally have the cushion up. You played it a couple of weeks ago and I was like, I had the cushion in front of my face. Even though I knew the result, I was like, this is just insane. Who do you think is going to win this year?
Matthew Van Der Poel.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks. Put your wages on it. Okay, next question. After a trip to Cambriels in Spain last year and having a nasty spill on a descent, I ended up missing the barrier on a sharp bend and went over the edge. The bike landed in a tree and I went down to the bottom of a ravine. The rest of the holiday was spent at the pool with broken ribs and a broken wrist. Now I've lost my descending mojo and I need it back. This year's trip is coming soon and I'm wondering if you've any tips on descending that I can take on board before this year's trip comes. Regards, James.
The first part is I absolutely love that he's on holiday with the family or something. He said, I'm going out for 2 hours, like coffee spin up and down the coast in Salou, and he's ended up in a ravine.
And James's wife has had to like chase after the 4 kids for the rest of the holiday while he lies
get out
there.
In a ravine?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd love actually, James, pop us on our message, let us know how you got out of the ravine.
Yeah, that is really, really scary, isn't it? That's one of my big fears, because when you're going down these descents, those barriers are quite low. It feels very easy to get your line
You're
wrong,
meant to stay
topple
on the road
over.
is the thing.
Okay. James, did you hear that?
It's scary. It's very scary. I've never gone over a ravine myself, but we've plenty of clients who've come back from bad crashes, and some of them need a surprising amount of coaching to get back to where they're comfortable descending again. And honestly, some people just never get back to that. And that's not a bad thing, because maybe you had a miscalculated appreciation of just how dangerous cycling is, and you can go over a ravine and you can die, as happened to our cyclist in the Alps last year.
Yeah, that's right. You were lucky to get away with broken ribs and a broken wrist.
So I think you can definitely repair this. It's not a forever case of the yips, like you're slicing golf balls for the rest of your life. I don't think that's the case. I think graded exposure is the first thing I would try. Like, start small. Don't force yourself into high-speed technical descents. You don't want to be going riding Sa Calabria the next day, fast descent, bunch of hairpins, changing sandy surfaces. Just make it more technical. You want to find something gentle, familiar if possible, at home, that you know inside out, so you can begin to slowly rebuild your trust. Ride this descent that you know at 40 kilometers an hour. Now ride it at 45, 50, all the way up. Gradually start building in speed, turn after turn, week after week, month after month, until it's time to go on your trip. Also analysing, like, what happened. Was it something that you got badly wrong? Is it a mechanical issue that's let you down? So making sure you're good tires, good brakes, well-tuned bike is going to give you a lot of confidence. And then understanding the crash. A lot of times we crash because we look where we don't want to go. Your bike will go wherever you look. And I remember really early, it was my first Ross, and I'd made a split on a Cat 1 climb, and there was like 12 of us left coming down Healy Pass. And I didn't know any of these guys, but they were all rock stars. What would become one of my future directors, Timmy Barry at Aqua Blue, looked around, didn't know me, and he's like, well, kid, look where you want to go, not where you don't want to go. And I was like, that was such amazing advice. It was the first time I ever heard it. And then when I moved into track teams, you start hearing it, look where you want to go. Look at the black line out through the corner. Don't look up in the seats, because if you look up in the seats, you're going to end up in the seats. So I think that's a good one. Another one is, you got to be relaxed when you come back, because the more tension you have, the more worried you are about it. You're going to over grip, you're going to over brake, you're going to be, like we talked about with Pogačar, he's relaxed, he's bends in his elbows, they're like shock absorbers, everything's like, ooh, it's chill. Tension is bad, because it's just really results in bad bike handling.
I think for me, it would be also like when you go back to your holiday, you're cycling all day, and you're going down these descents. Yes, of course, you want to get your mojo back, but also don't have an ego. Just because the lads are going down the climb and taking every corner like crazy, and they've got the access right, and they're leaning right over on their bikes. If you're feeling nervous, if you feel like you're going too fast, if you feel like you're out of control, if you're getting a flashback, just press your brakes. Like, you don't have to go down that descent
It's fun though.
It is fun, but it's not fun when you're in that headspace and you're worried. I've tried to follow you a million times going down descents, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? I feel absolutely out of control. I'm stressed out. My heart rate is super high, and things can go really bad for me here because I don't know what I'm doing. So try keep your ego in check, and as you said, slowly build back up to it. No one is going to mind if you're with a group of other cyclists, if this is going with your club or whatever, no one's going to mind waiting for 90 seconds at the bottom of the descent for you. So that would be my advice. Just leave your ego at home, and hopefully you'll feel better as the week progresses.
A couple more
descending.
I would throw out on the equipment one. Look at what tires you're using and don't prioritize puncture resistance on tires, prioritize grip on tires, and go as wide as your clearance allows on your bike. If you can get 25s on your bike, brilliant. If you can get 28s on your bike, brilliant. Go with a tire that has really good grip, like a Continental GP 5000, the new, the S version with the black chili compound, super grippy. Something like that. And then also the braking in the corners, especially when someone's new coming back. Like, you don't want to brake in the corner. You want to brake before the corner. You don't want to be braking mid-turn because it's really bad. And brake progressively as well, where you're braking like gentle at first into the corner, and then you're trying to understand it's the speed you come out of the corner matters, not the speed you go into the corner. So your front brake is going to control your speed, and your rear brake is going to control your stability through the corner. So you're trying to apply them both, but before you get there, so you can glide through the apex and carry speed out the corner. It doesn't need to be crazy speed. As we said, gradual progression. But I think your advice was good as well.
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate what you said about your kit, your tires, your pressure. I know I was chatting to a friend of mine, Miles, who's a cyclist, and he was saying that in order to get over the yips, it's really, really good advice to geek out on exactly what you're saying. Your tires, go and like really understand what makes a good tire. What's the perfect fit? What's the perfect pressure? That will give you a little bit of confidence because you take control over that, rather than just dumping it into the bike shop and being like, oh, can you just put tires on this? Take ownership of it.
Also use our tire pressure calculator on our website.
Absolutely.
Which is linked below as well. Hey everybody, let's take a quick break to talk about the bike I'll be riding this season, Reap. I've been lucky enough to ride all the top brands in the world over the past few years, but these Reap bikes, they're not the same, and I'll tell you why. Reap is the first company I've seen that isn't chasing sales targets and the mass market. They're chasing something very rare, perfection. Every bike they make, it's crafted in the UK factory, and it's not about slapping a Made in Britain label on a bike from a Chinese factory. It's about control. From the first sketch to the final build, they're hands-on, ensuring that every detail is dialed in. That's very rare in an outsourced world of mass production. What sets them apart is innovation. While others pump out the same old designs, Reap's pushing boundaries. They're not following trends, they're setting trends. Think precision and performance, like an F1 car for the road. Absolutely no compromises. And it shows, and you can feel it when you ride the bikes. These bikes are built for riders who demand the best, whether they're chasing podiums or just want a machine that feels like an extension of your body, a piece of art. It's not hype, it's substance. Ride a Reap for yourself, and you're riding something crafted with intent. So if you're serious about cycling, check them out. It's reapbikes.com. I absolutely love my one, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. Back to the show.
Okay, next question. Last Sunday here in Boulder, Colorado, I got dropped in my first group ride with a large group. This ride was the pinnacle of the weekend since getting my new road bike earlier that week. As a newbie, it's easy to think the machinery makes a cyclist. Instead, I got a dose of reality. But rather than sulk, I continued on my own solo ride. The destination and goal is to do this group spin again and don't get effing dropped. I now do 2 training rides solo in the week, 80 RPMs in zone 2 or 3, 15 to 20 miles, then a weekend ride of 14 miles in a similar pace. Question to the podcast on big group spins. How should newbies think about group rides? What's the best approach to building cycling fitness and keeping confidence, especially when there's a mix of experience and it's a fit group keen on pushing a tough pace? And that's from Curtis B.
Well, the good news is, Curtis, getting dropped in your first group ride, it's a rite of passage in cycling. I wouldn't say it's a failure. The fact that you didn't sulk and you've set a goal to come back stronger, it speaks volumes about your attitude, which is like a can-do attitude. So that mindset's going to make you a better bike rider ultimately. I think understanding where you are, like you said, there's a mix of experienced fit guys in the group. Like if you look at our group, right, we've everybody from a new French lad came out at the weekend he has like weight loss goals. He's lost like 25 kilograms since June, which is absolutely amazing. Chapeau to him for that. But he's on this journey to use cycling as a tool to recapture his health, versus we have some very good Cat 1s in the group. So everyone's in together, and that group is paralleled and it's mirrored in groups all over the world. You have people who are total beginners versus very experienced. So you need to understand that as a total newbie into the group, you need to find your place in that group. You're not going to be the fastest guy. You're going to be the guy that's getting dropped. So accepting that and calibrating your expectations around that is a good place to start. Also understand that even if you're coming like as a crossover athlete, you're coming from high level running, high level rowing, group rides aren't just about fitness. They're almost like a little mini bike race. They're about positioning, they're about efficiency, they're about pacing, they're about understanding the etiquette. So even strong riders can struggle in a fast group if they're not used to the dynamics of it. And it is okay to struggle in these groups because you're there to get a workout. So tips for Curtis on not getting dropped. Keep showing up, and you're going to build that awareness of how the group works, the dynamic, how you skip turns. You got very good at skipping turns in our group. But you figure it out of necessity. You're like, at the start, there's this almost like you feel like this is what you have to do. I have to ride through. And then you go, well, actually, that makes no sense because I'm going to ride through and then everyone's going to be waiting for me. Now I'm better off sitting on the back, especially into a headwind, especially finding the shelter in a crosswind. You've started to understand this stuff and you get deeper and deeper into the group spin until one day you can hold on.
Yeah, I know. I'm still waiting for that day. It's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually.
But the biggest thing I would jump on here is, and of course, if you want to drop us a message, something we can help out with, it's the training around the group ride. It has to be right. So he's doing 2 rides per week, 80 RPM. It's not super low, but it is on the low end of what you would want for a cadence. But if you're only training zone 2 and zone 3 for a 15 to 20 mile spin, you're only getting the adaptations associated with riding in zone 2 and zone 3. So you're going, and you said you're doing similar training on the weekend. So you've narrow adaptations like starting to utilize fat as a fuel source in zone 2, build mitochondrial density and amount of mitochondria. So you have these adaptations you get in zone 2. You have a similar set of adaptations, but slightly different in zone 3. Now you jump into the weekend group ride, you're definitely going to call on those adaptations that you're building zone 2 and zone 3, but now you're being asked to sprint at 1,000 watts out of a corner, which you've never trained. A zone 6 effort. You're asked to do VO2 zone 5 efforts. You're asked to spend long times at threshold, which you've never done before. So you need to build a training plan which has progressive overload built into it, which is taxing all the different systems and which is goal orientated. So if your goal is to get around a group ride, let's reverse engineer the demands of what it takes to get around a group ride, the amount of VO2 max work, the amount of sprint work we need, and now build a training plan which is going to take you to that goal. Some of the recent content we've put out would be super helpful to start watching, like the build your own training plan in 7 days or to build your own training plan in 30 days, or else pop us a message. But I think training and showing up every week are the 2 main things.
Yeah, as somebody who has been in this situation, Curtis, just keep showing up. I always just say, so your ride is on a Saturday or Sunday, don't stop going and say, you know what, I'm going to have 2 months worth of training and then I'm going to go back to the Saturday spin because that I'll be stronger, I'll be better, I'll be more comfortable, I won't get dropped. The key is, and I absolutely love, as you said, Anthony, love your attitude, Curtis, just show up every day. If you're really struggling and you don't mind having a solo ride, do that. I think it's on, the people to be responsible, know the route and keep going. Yeah, I just think it's not going to happen either in 2 or 3 weeks. Try and be patient with it. Don't get disheartened. And look, as I said, keep showing up. Okay, next question. Hi, Anthony. I saw on your podcast a young cyclist with a higher than expected heart rate. It made me think you might be able to help me with the opposite issue. I'm 62 and have been racing, mostly gravel, for 10 years, and for the previous 2 seasons have been training for long races, Unbound 200 and a few smaller ultras. I started taking statins and a cholesterol absorption inhibitor last year, and over the same period have seen my high-end heart rate from racing and hard training decline from low 180s to high 160s. My zone 2 pace seems to have shifted from 130 to the 120s and even below, based on RPE, breathing and talking levels. Could this big shift be due to extreme increases in fitness with my higher volume? Could it be the statins? I can't find any side effects to that effect. Normal aging or something else? My coach and physician have no clues. And finally, can max heart rate or increasing my max be influenced by training? Cheers, Bill.
It's a good question. I'm not a doctor.
Nope, definitely not.
So I will give you the benefit of my experience. I've had some clients with similar issues, and ultimately, playing around with statins, changing dosages, that's something to go to your physician with. If you're not happy with the physician, change physician. But all that kind of legal disclaimer being said, I think high volume training, it can lead to lower heart rates, suppressed heart rates across all zones, but a drop in your max heart rate going from 180 to 160, that's more significant than we typically expect from endurance training. I know for me, my zone 2, like I'll be cruising around at like 105 beats per minute at 220, 230 watts. When I'm fit, it's probably taking me 130 beats per minute when I'm not fit for the same type of power. So it does get a little bit suppressed when you're fit. Well-trained, especially when he's doing unbound, like well-trained ultra endurance type athletes, they do have lower resting and sub-maximum heart rates, but typically their max heart rate remains stable. So just because you get a suppression of the other zones doesn't mean you really get a suppression of that top end. The zone 2 heart rate shifting downwards is normal if your stroke volume, that's the amount of blood per heartbeat, has increased with training, meaning your heart doesn't need to work as hard for the same power output anymore. That's why I've gone from 130 to 105 in my example. However, fitness alone shouldn't reduce your max heart rate by 15 to 20 beats, especially if your perceived effort at max still feels the same. So that's kind of let's draw a ring fence around that, and that's the improvements based off fitness that we'd expect. Now let's talk a little bit about the statins or absorption inhibitors. That's a mouthful. Statins aren't widely known to lower your max heart rate. There's some evidence suggesting they can impact muscle function and recovery. Statins have an effect on muscle contraction, so some endurance athletes on statins are reporting induced exercise tolerance, leg fatigue, and hitting the wall sooner. This is thought to be due to mitochondrial function being impacted. There is other evidence and studies to show that they reduce heart rate variability, making it look like you're a little bit more fatigued than you are. So that could indirectly limit your ability to reach max heart rate as too. But if the heart rate drop coincided exactly with starting your statins, I think it's worth discussing it with your doctor whether a different dosage or an alternate brand might change this situation for you. Max heart rate is affected by age for sure. Like he flagged that right at the end of his question. But it's not likely it's affected this much all at once. It's like a gradual decay, like a muscle atrophy almost. Like max heart rate typically drops 3 to 5 beats per decade. So dropping 15 to 20 BPM in a single year, like that's quite a drastic reduction. Some of this, it definitely could be due to normal aging. But given that you're actively racing, you're training for unbound and you have high training volumes, I would assume, a drop this significant, it doesn't really align with expected trends.
He does say in the question, I started taking statins and cholesterol absorption inhibitor last year and over the same period. So basically over the course of a year, he's seen these massive changes in his heart rate. He also said my zone 2 pace seems to have shifted from 130s to 120s. 130s for zone 2 seems quite high, no? For
It's very individual.
it's individual. Yeah, okay.
Roadman, I'm going to date myself here, but I've been riding the bike for almost 20 years. And in that time, I've cycled through every cycling apparel brand out there. And I kept swapping out different apparel brands each season until I found Le Col. There's something really different about Le Col, and as soon as you slip into the gear, you notice it feels different, it feels better. I've had the pleasure of chatting with Janto Barker on the podcast. He's the Le Col founder, and his dedication to crafting the fastest, most refined cycling apparel out there, it's nothing short of inspiring. Janto isn't just trying to create gear. I get the feeling he's actively and obsessively trying to perfect cycling gear. Trust me, as soon as you slip on the Le Col kit, as soon as you zip up that jersey, you can feel that commitment. The proof for Le Col, it's in the pudding. This is the same kit that Jay Hindley wore when he clinched overall victory in the Giro d'Italia. There's a confidence that comes with wearing apparel that's been battle tested and podium proven in races like the Giro d'Italia. Trust me, feeling good on the bike means you're gonna perform better. If you have a second, I highly advise you to jump on over to lacol.cc and check out their amazing range of kit and experience this feeling for yourself.
Okay, next question. Okay, I need someone to explain this to me because I just don't get it. Why on earth do some women wear makeup while cycling? I'm out here suffering.
Can you read tone into questions? Yeah.
Can you tell I'm disgusted? I'm out here suffering, sweat pouring down my face, barely holding onto the wheel in a chain gang. And meanwhile, there's someone in the group with a full face of makeup like they just stepped out of a beauty salon. I mean, what is the point? We're here to ride, not take selfies. Doesn't it just melt off? Are they really that worried about how they look when they're training? Or is this just another case of Instagram culture creeping into the sport? Someone please make this make sense.
This is a question for me, yeah.
What do you think?
Makeup has no place on a bike. I just trying to wind you up. I think not everybody wears makeup for others. Some people just wear makeup because they feel a little bit more put together. They feel a little bit more confident. And if makeup makes them feel better, like why not? Isn't the whole point of going cycling to feel good and enjoy the ride?
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? For like that comes to, first of all, why do you care so much? Like, how is this affecting you? What's your problem? Like, why have you got a chip on your shoulder? Why do you hate a woman wanting to make herself feel better when she goes out in the group spin?
Well, it's not much different, is it, than wearing matching kit?
It's exactly. Cycling is quite, I don't want to call cycling a vain sport, but we can be quite a vain group insofar as we love to be put together. We like to
It's aesthetically driven for sure.
It is. It really is. So I just don't understand why this person has such a problem with this. It's just some I actually, when I saw this question coming in, I was like, I think people probably might think this. Would you have, if you saw a girl rocking up and she had a full makeup on, you wouldn't judge her?
Look, I'm not sure if it can go, I think his question is stupid, but maybe to push back a little bit and give a more moderate version of his question, can it go too far? Like in the gym, like where's the line between going to a nightclub and like if a girl is half dressed wearing full makeup in the gym to the point that it's making other gym users feel uncomfortable?
But how could that make somebody uncomfortable? I just think if a girl wants to wear a sports bra and a pair of shorts in the gym and a full makeup and she has her hair extensions in, why not? How is she harming anybody else?
It naturally attracts the male gaze. Like you're going to be just, oh my God. And then that's when it can result in, like we've seen this, like TikTok and Instagram shaming culture where like, oh, what are you looking at? Mind your own business. Like, what am I meant to look at my feet when I'm walking along? Like I'm just looking up to see where I'm going. Yeah, you happen to be in my...
I think if someone is in your like line of sight, it's okay. But I think if there's people like ogling her, then they definitely need to take a step back and look at their own behaviour. I just think everybody, once they're not harming anybody else or it's not completely obscene where you're having to cover kids' eyes over, just wear what you want. Same on the bike, go for it. Like I'm absolutely disgusted at this fella's question. Why do you care so much?
there's a comedian, I'm not sure who this was talking about it. It might have been Frankie Boyle, but he's like wondering why it's okay for women to selectively expose themselves, but not for men. Like, what if we had like a see-through crotchless shorts that just expose the sides of your genitals?
It's a good point, but you lost me at Frankie Boyle. So.
I think we'll park it there. Roadman, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Rider Support. If you enjoyed the podcast, please check out this video because it's another one you're going to love. It's a belter. And take a second to subscribe to the channel. And the big ask is, if you enjoyed this and you got some value from it, please share it into your club WhatsApp groups or your friends who you go riding with and encourage them to check it out as well. Thanks for listening. See you next day.